Charles! Welcome in to the Bro 4 Squad podcast, where we're just a bunch of bros drinking beer and talking movies. This is episode 120. What a special one it is. I am your host, the Mayor Jeff Hornacek. Before we get into the movie discussion, let's go around and meet the fellow bros. First, we go in the lab to the mad scientist, Brian Banner. Banner, we all know you're a brilliant scientist, so I want to ask you, and be real with me here, how far below you in terms of intelligence would you rank Hank McCoy, aka Beast from the X-Men?
I'd say moderate to fairly moderate.
It's like the meet the parents answer when he asks him, how's your portfolio, Greg?
Strong to fairly strong. No, I mean, in all reality, I taught him everything he knows. It was a long 6 months. Had to vacuum every day, shed everywhere. But yeah,
and that was just from you. You actually are hairier, I think, than Beast is.
Yeah, except from my ass. He's definitely has a hairier ass than me. I don't know how I know that, but I know.
All right, next we go to our enforcer in the paint, Matt Geiger.
Okay, we had relations once. It was an accident.
No one made you say that, though. Geiger, I know you played high school football with Colossus, actually. Any cool stories with him partying or banging chicks or anything you can share with us on the pod?
I mean, the locker room, man, in the shower, the dude had a fucking rock. I'm not going to lie. Not that I looked or anything, but Jesus, I mean, the dude was like made of just like pure rock and metal. A lot of steroid accusations, but I mean, at the end of the day...
How could he even get a needle into himself?
I know, you can't even get a needle in him to test him, so... You know, you just kind of had to let him play. Great player, fun as fuck to party with, the keggers and everything. Love to do beer stands, except it took the entire football team just to raise him up to do a keg stand. So that was kind of, you know, we all had to like leave our girlfriends or leave what we were doing for a while because Colossus wanted to do a keg stand. But yeah, man, he's a fun dude. I can text him sometime if we want. I mean, I'd have his number.
That'd be chill as fuck. I gotta ask, did he date like the cheerleading captain, or like what was his social status like in high school?
It was weird. He liked the younger girls. I mean, like pretty. I don't really feel comfortable talking about it, really.
Did anyone? I know you're from the middle of Missouri. Did anyone think it was weird that a Eastern European metal guy was living in Missouri?
As long as he wasn't black, everyone's pretty cool.
Jesus Christ. Jesus.
Not my thoughts, just saying.
No, he's not wrong. Yeah, that's not at all our thoughts, but that is probably...
Don't get mad at me, okay? Point the finger somewhere else.
The messenger. All right, we start every episode off on the Bro 4 Squad podcast with the most important thing in any bro's life, and that is chest day. And as you can tell by the title, we're getting old as fuck because the original X-Men movie, directed by Bryan Singer, came out in 2000, meaning that it turns 20 years old on July 14th. So as you're listening to this, maybe that date has passed, maybe not. It's going to be close. That's all I can say. And this obviously was a huge film, both in the history of the superhero movie genre, and one that really just changed Hollywood in a lot of ways. So we thought this would be a great opportunity to revisit it. In a different way than we do in our reviews typically, and talk about what holds up, what we liked and disliked, and then I thought it would be fun at the end to talk about what actually was happening in the world in the year 2000, to put into perspective how long ago this movie actually came out, viewing it under that lens. So, Banner, if people go all the way back to episode 1 of the Bro 4 Squad, you are the Fox guy, and obviously X-Men is a Fox-produced Marvel movie. And I know you actually also recently wrote a squad blog about this that you guys should check out, called The X Factor. It's way better than that fucking show, X Factor. So why don't you go first? What are your overall thoughts 2 decades later on the original X-Men?
First off, totally forgot The X Factor was the name of a show. Good thing we've got Cyclops in case we get sued.
Because they need money right now.
Yeah, obviously. I mean, they created a show called The fucking X Factor, for God's sakes. Of course they need money. This blows me away that this is 20 years old. I vividly remember Uncle Banner flying to Chicago, where I lived at the time, from California, just to take me to see X-Men. I remember my mom made him see it first before he took me, to make sure it wasn't too violent or too scary or whatever. I mean, obviously, Uncle Banner was going to take me regardless. I mean, they could have been slitting each other's throats.
Fine.
Yeah. and
It could have been the Joker.
Have taken me,
like, yeah, it's
but-
fine. Good for kids.
yeah. I was actually surprised about how light it was. I thought it was gonna be a little darker than that. But I vividly remember him taking me to the movie and me halfway through going, "Holy shit, Wolverine is my dude. I love him." That is when he went to start being my favorite superhero, and he is to this day. I really started reading the Wolverine comics after this, and I found him to be so captivating and have so many different layers that he became my favorite, and it was because of this movie. Again, I wrote a squad blog about how influential this movie was mainly on cinema, but this has a lot of political and a lot of social roots at it, as X-Men has, just with social rights and human rights and what is okay for people to do and not to do. Not going to get into that. We're not a political podcast. We've done a really good job at staying away from that. But as a whole, this movie, if this movie was not successful, we wouldn't have had the trilogy. We wouldn't have had the Spider-Man trilogy. We wouldn't have had the Dark Knight trilogy. We wouldn't have had the MCU. This movie being successful set the stage for the next 20 years and even beyond. I mean, we don't know what's happening yet with, the MCU or if DC is ever going to get their shit together. But if this movie wasn't successful, we would have none of that today.
Very well said. Geiger, how about you? 2 decades have come and gone. You've grown into a full-grown Geiger now. What do you remember or what has stuck with you about the original X-Men?
So, a couple things. For one, just seeing it in theaters. I remember me and my friends used to just there was about 3 of us. We had to work out for middle school football and basketball and a bunch of stuff, and we'd read comics afterwards at one of my friends' house because he had a ton of them. When X-Men was coming out, I remember going to the weight room that morning talking about how pumped we are about fucking seeing X-Men. We chilled by the pool, and I wasn't as excited as the other ones just because, listen, I'm that girl. I've been hurt before, okay? I remember going and seeing Batman and Robin and leaving I thought that guy was good to me, and he's cheating with everyone in fucking town. So I went there with my, at a distance, and then we'll talk about, I think Jeff had this, but the first scene when I don't remember, Jeff, if you could talk about this, but was them in a concentration camp in the comics? Because that was not in the TV show.
I think it's referenced, but
okay, I don't know if that's something they added in for the movie or that's actually canon to the comic books.
I mean, it's definitely part of his Magneto story, yeah.
Okay. Well, right then, the first scene, I'm like, okay, they're taking this extremely serious. I just want to kind of go over the cast because this is the weirdest thing about this movie is they don't have a big star. Even the original Batman had Jack Nicholson.
Yeah.
Sorry, say that again.
I was going to say, I this is one of my notes, so we can just get out of the way now. At the time, Halle Berry was probably the biggest name, and that's for dating David Justice. Yes,
pretty much. I mean, she was hot, but she wasn't not like when they got Jennifer Lawrence, even though she did a terrible job. I mean, she was red fucking hot. I mean, Patrick Stewart was just a weird Captain Kirk. Like, if you were into Star Trek, you liked him. Other than that, he was just kind of a joke. Hugh Jackman was an absolute fucking nobody. Rebecca Romaine was just the hot chick that dated Uncle Jesse.
Ian McKellen was some big Broadway star in London no one had ever heard of. Yeah. And Anna Paquin was just the girl from Fly Away Home. That Disney
where was Swordfish? When did that come out?
After this. I think it was 2002, I believe.
Was that 2002? Yeah. Okay.
So rewatching this movie, I loved how, and I think this is one of the first comics to do this because Burton's Batman didn't even really do this, but make it kind of mainstay. I love how Wolverine's a cage fighter. And actually that's even more, I think, today that UFC was not that big a deal in 2000. I can't remember when Chuck Liddell and all those guys came in. And I think it was a couple years after that. That was fucking cool. I like that how he was a loner. And I love that the X-Men were already formed because that's actually kind of true canon. And we didn't have time to basically get them all together and shit like that. That would just take way fucking too long. I love Magneto's basically playing the whole time. I love that it's political because that's what made Star Wars so fucking cool. How basically mutants they're scary to people that don't know them. And then Magneto's basically like, we could just take over this fucking country and they're like fucking with our laws. This is a great movie. I still think X2 is better. I think this movie changed. If we didn't have this movie, we wouldn't have had the Avengers. We wouldn't have Nolan's Batman. It basically changed. Be like, this is how you do comic book movies. You can still do some laughter and some comedy, but they got to be kind of a serious basis if the characters in the comics are actually serious. Like Wolverine's not funny, so don't try to make him funny. The last thing I'm going to say is something bad. I don't like, and I'm glad Banner brought this up because this is just different thoughts. I don't like how all these movies are not X-Men movies. I think they're Wolverine movies, personally. Cyclops is not in here at all, and he's my favorite X-Men ever. And him and Wolverine are the yin and yang that makes these stories so good. And basically, they kind of teased it for a while, and then Cyclops is basically a B- player, just basically batting ninth the whole time when he should be batting third, and Wolverine should be batting cleanup. I hated that. I couldn't decide if I don't like Halle Berry or they just didn't use her, because Storm is one of my favorite characters too, and they don't really use her ever until they just need a Storm or something. She's just there. I don't like that. I hate how they did Rogue as she's a teenager and Wolverine's basically like her father. I've always hated that. Rogue should be the same age, maybe a little younger as Wolverine. She should have like that.
She dates Gambit in the comics.
I know.
And the cartoon.
She should have that honey accent. And lastly, I'm just going to say, I hate the uniforms. I just don't like them. Now, I don't
was going to
need
ask us about that.
Yellow and blue. I mean, Wolverine needs a mask.
I did love how Cyclops said to Wolverine,
You can do navy blue with just hints of yellow or something.
when
But
they're
it's just not all black. They look
when
like bikers.
when
They
they're
look
in
like
the
Sons of Anarchy.
Blackbird in the very last, like getting ready for the final action set piece, Wolverine makes some comment about the costumes, and Cyclops goes, "Well, would you prefer yellow spandex?" And I think he was almost talking to the audience at that point. Like,
Yeah.
do you want to see and leather? Think about this. It's the year 2000, Matt. I mean, leave some pussy for the rest of us in all leather uniforms.
But there's some things here, and I know it's the 2000s, and obviously they're making a lot of mistakes. I mean, they're the test dummies of the comic book universe because what their mistakes, Marvel and DC, Nolan's Batman later kind of picked up and like, oh, we should do this, we should do Kevlar or something like that. So I give it a pass, but I'll never excuse Cyclops. Cyclops was always my favorite X-Men in the comics. He's my favorite X-Men in the TV show. He was
He's
the
the leader of the
necessary
X-Men.
evil for Wolverine. I mean, you're talking about, no one's ever right or wrong, but sometimes you need Wolverine's way of just, hey, we just got to get this done. And sometimes you need Cyclops' way of let's think this through before we just go try to kill everybody. And that never happens in any of these fucking movies, and I hate it so much. Cyclops needs to be way more front and center. And you have James Marsden, who's a fantastic actor.
Yeah. And I hate even worse what they do with Cyclops in the third one. Few things I wanted to say real quick, and most of these things are kind of echoing stuff you guys brought up. First off, Matt, I wanted to give you a standing ovation, but you were on a roll with what you said about Cyclops, and he really is relegated in this movie because as Hugh Jackman's popularity grows with the character, and trust me, I am not complaining about getting a lot of Hugh Jackman, but they do become Wolverine movies.
Yes.
And that's why it is the one good thing about in Banner's Squad, like he talks about the other, like the prequel cast, I guess we could call them. The one good thing about that is Wolverine is not really in those stories, so it really gives those other characters a chance to be fleshed out. But the opening scene, Matt had referenced Joel Schumacher's 2 Batman movies, which were the biggest superhero movies at the box office to date. And I think it was a new millennium. It was a new decade, obviously. And that opening scene with Magneto at a concentration camp, seeing his mother be ripped away from him by Nazis, that lets you know, guys, this is a different type of superhero movie, okay? There's not going to be any ice to meet you. Like, we're taking these characters seriously. But I think it also still was really relatable to kids. Like, even if that, and like the whole civil rights allegory went totally over my head as a kid.
I didn't understand it till I was an adult.
Yeah.
I didn't get it all, but I still love the movie. Like Matt said, Magneto's plan to mutate the world leaders at the UN summit is fucking brilliant. He's like, make them like us, and then we'll finally see how much they fear us and how much they want to persecute us. So that's just genius. And Ian McKellen in and of himself, what a fucking gift, dude. I mean,
dude,
whoever casted him who put their fist on the table like, hey, this fucking Broadway actor who like probably doesn't look like Magneto in the comics and is probably older than we want to cast him, he's the guy, dude. I'm telling you. That's why I started with Charles.
I think one of the biggest things that this movie did was they showed you can take superheroes, something that is complete fantasy, that is unrealistic. You've got dudes shooting laser beams out of his eyes and metal claws coming out of his hands. They put that into present day, into modern times.
Yeah, that was cool.
And they didn't comic book anything up. They literally just said, hey, these people have powers, but they're living amongst us. This could be a documentary. I mean, obviously that's exaggerated, but it happens to date. It doesn't it's not comic booked up. They don't have a lot of flashy colors. You don't have the crazy, stupid, out of this world, flashy costumes. I know. I agree. I'm not a big fan of the costumes that they chose, but I do think that it's the right move in legitimizing the genre and legitimizing the movie, of making this more of a modern, present time movie instead of making it a comic book. And that is what paved the way for the Nolan trilogy, in my opinion.
The reason that works so well is because you need Magneto and Charles. You got to kind of like both. Right. Because they both have different ways of doing things. And sometimes you're like, he's dead wrong. But then a scene later, you're like, actually, I'm with Magneto now. Like, these humans need to be fucking dealt with because they're not acting rationally. And they need something like the civil rights was just a perfect way to have them. Magneto and Charles kind of both wanted the same thing. Just how they went about it was just totally different.
They did a fantastic job of building their relationship. You know, there's history between those two. You know that they used to be boys, and this issue divided them. And you can tell there's still a mutual respect for each other, and they understand where the other one is coming from, whether they agree or not. And they did that chemistry comes out on screen. Sorry, Jeff, didn't mean to talk over you there.
No, that's okay. Has Stan Lee come out and said that Charles and Eric were actually based on Martin Luther King and Malcolm X? Because that's certainly the way, Geiger was saying, that their relationship plays out.
I don't know.
Rights.
I mean, he would have wrote X-Men kind of during the civil rights movement. I think.
Exactly. I think that's
right
why
in that time.
I got the idea. But I'm with Matt.
Thought of it like that.
Rewatching this movie, there were a lot of times I'm like, no, man, fucking Magneto is right. Like, they're literally trying to cage you up, and Charles is like, now hang on, Eric, perhaps we should listen. He's like, Charles, they'll never listen to us.
We're the future, Charles, not them. They don't even matter.
He's like, humans will evolve. They already have, Charles, into us. God, the way they both talk, it's like, fuck, everyone shut up. One of my dream scenarios to get in a fight is I'm at a play, Ian McKellen's on stage, and someone's phone goes off, and I walk over to that person and just beat the shit out of them. Like, he's acting.
And then Ian invites you back to his studio apartment to drink tea, to talk about film. And
Michael Caine's there and offers me a Shirley Blanca.
Because everyone in England's really small. They all just live together.
Yeah, it's like the Brandon Routh rip Joel Schumacher.
Yeah.
Banner, one negative thing I have to say, the score sucks.
I agree. Bad.
It's they spent the money elsewhere, which is fine, but when I listened to it, I was like, it's pretty weak.
I think it is a testament to how good the movie is that this score is really bad, but it doesn't take you out of the movie still.
And I mean this in the most pretentious way possible. The score doesn't have anything to say. Like, in every action scene, it's not trying to do anything cool. It's just like, play some fucking woodwinds. Just do some horns. Wolverine has his claws out. Like, if I asked you what's the X-Men score, no one here could hum it. That's because it's trash.
No, they made up for it, which this is getting a little, but the score for First Class is really good, and they made up for pretty much a shitty score up until that point.
Well, if you wanted Geiger and I to be happy, you should just replay the cartoon score. Two really quick things before we move on to some questions I have. I liked Geiger's point about Rogue. They basically made Rogue Jubilee from Comics.
And do you want to know my theory why they did that?
Well, her powers fit the storyline perfectly.
That, and I think money. I think it was technologically, with where they were at with CGI and stuff, Jubilee's power would have been a lot harder to create than Rogue's power.
I guess that's fair.
So in a money wise and in a making this as successful and not look shitty, they switched it to Rogue. And personally, I'm okay with it because of how they stuck with it. Now I don't like what they did with Rogue later on in the franchise.
What Matt said, the Rogue we get in these movies is fine, but it's not like Rogue. It's just like a character that has one of her powers, because she doesn't really have half her power set and doesn't act like her or talk like her.
Yep.
I have a question. I have one question too, Jeff, after we get to questions.
Last thing I just wanted to say, so Matt, I think everything Matt said, I just am echoing. So sorry, I did not have an original thought of my own, but he talked about how Storm in this movie is relegated to like basically plot convenience. Like, oh fuck, you know what would be cool right now if like someone could blow a wind gust, put Storm in the scene. But is this the stupidest movie quote of all time? Storm says to Toad in the end battle in New York, and this has lived on for decades. She says, quote, as she's about to attack him, "Do you know what happens to a toad when they get struck by lightning? The same thing that happens to everything else." And then she electrocutes him.
Yeah, couldn't Magneto's crew been a little better picked too?
Oh my god, bro!
I mean,
like
Sabretooth was fine. I'd rather have this type of Sabretooth that's more canon, but I mean you got so many. I know they got Pyro later, but you got so many people you could have used that just not.
He really had like it was like he had a big time budget limitation on payroll. He's like, we can't hire out the ass here. Mystique is doing it for college credit, for Christ's sake.
I think that they were waiting to try and thinking this was going to be bigger than it ended up being, that they were going to bring all of his henchmen in future movies, and it just didn't play out the way that they wanted it to. And I think a lot of that was because of the success of Wolverine, how they said, oh, we have to pull on this. And then they also went down the path of Wolverine and Jean's flirtatious thing, whatever the fuck that was. And then
That's
pretty early, it was. I don't think it looked good and played well on screen personally, but it was fine, and it is something that's to the source material. But them going with Dark Phoenix in the franchise is, I think, what hurt them really hurt Magneto, because it took the bad guy out of the scenario.
That's a good point. All right, anything you guys want to add before we move on to a few questions I want to open up to the floor about this movie?
No.
Okay, first one. Matt, I think you've said this before, but am I the only one here who is incredibly attracted to Mystique in the makeup? Like, please pray for me.
Rebecca remains hotter with blue makeup than she is originally.
I'm a disgusting person. It's not, like Matt has said this about Gamora. He's like, if Zoe Saldana was in a room, she's like, oh, hey, I can take off the green paint. He'd be like, no, leave it on.
Why aren't you green?
I don't get
it. Matt gets really confused when the green paint isn't under the clothes. He's like, oh, you're not completely green?
Oh, well, I'm not even. You lied.
I'm not interested.
He would play it off like, well, if you're going to lie to me, then it's not even like.
It's like Danny McBride in Pineapple Express. Like, I know, I'm a sick and disgusting person.
Do you want to be reincarnated as like a dragon or like an anal bead? Well, whose anal bead is it? Because if it's like Jude Law's, then maybe it's my anal bead.
Oh, then the dragon.
Then the dragon. Matt kind of touched on this earlier, but do you guys prefer Sabretooth like this, where this is much closer to him in the cartoon and the comics, or do you prefer him now? Origins Wolverine was a train wreck, but Liev Schreiber's Sabretooth I thought was a high point in it. Who's your Sabretooth? Banner, we'll go to you first.
I actually want a mixture of both. The way and the feel that Sabretooth in the original X-Men came off, I loved. But I liked Schreider's rendition and the intellectual and they really did a good job, which is one thing they actually did good out of that movie, was develop the relationship and why the hate between Sabretooth and Wolverine is there. And that's what I would have liked, is if they continued to have Sabretooth in it, but gave him more meat on the bone and more talking. I mean, he really doesn't have very many talking lines. I don't blame the dude for leaving to go be on Lost. It makes sense.
He's actually also way more powerful in X-Men Origins Wolverine.
Yes.
Like, insanely more powerful. Matt, who's your Sabretooth? I know you're a wrestling guy. Do you remember this dude from the WWE, or was he a WCW? He was a wrestler.
The Sabretooth guy? Hold on, I'll answer the question, I'll look him up. But the answer is yes. I mean, I watch wrestling all the time. I probably do remember him. But I like both, and here's why. I hate to talk on both sides of my mouth, but if you're gonna put Sabretooth in a story with Wolverine, then I want the Schreibert thing, especially because in the comics, whenever I remember I remember watching the X-Men TV show when they're like, "Oh, that's Wolverine's brother." I'm like, that doesn't make any fucking sense. This guy can't. Oh, Tyler Mane? Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I do remember him. Yeah.
He looks way different in this IMDb photo.
But if you're gonna have him actually in a story with Wolverine and they're gonna be brothers, he has to be somewhat human, not just a beast.
Right.
Because like so Wolverine's mother had basically like an adult fucking monster, and then a guy Wolverine. I was like, that doesn't make any fucking sense. Two dads, obviously, but still doesn't make any sense.
You love who you love.
But in the X-Men 2000s movie that we're talking about, just have Sabretooth like that, because we have too many fucking people to get to. Just make him someone that can't talk and just kind of like the bodyguard guy.
And in the cartoon, which the cartoon one is the one that is in like all the Capcom versus Marvel video games. That's what he is. He's just like a big hulking dude who's like Wolverine's, basically his equal. All right, Matt and I have talked about this a lot, but how surprised are you guys that this movie was not called X-Men 2000 or like X-Men Millennium or some shit? Because I was like, everything that came out that year, they had to just throw 2000 on it. Video games, sodas.
I'm not that surprised because this movie took itself seriously, actually. If it didn't, now I had to write in X-Men 2000 cast to like look up the cast and stuff, but that's just because there's so many other movies. But it took itself seriously. I think that's the only reason it didn't call itself X-Men Millennium.
You know, someone though tried like, guys, we are losing money if we don't call it.
Like, come on, this is.
I agree with everything you just said, Matt. I think them taking the movie so seriously and taking this as an actual story and not just a cheesy action flick is why they, in my opinion, dropped the 2000. I think at one point it was called X-Men 2000.
Drop just Facebook. It's cleaner.
Yeah.
Sean Parker was in the meeting, probably said that.
God, what a fuck. I'm actually going to reference Napster here in a second. And you know what else? I was just thinking back to the leather suits. It is kind of criminal that we were teased it at the end of The Wolverine, but we never actually got to see him at all in the yellow suit. I'm sure the Marvel Studios and Kevin Feige have got to be like, wow, you guys are really just going to leave that there for us to do for the first time? Like the first time we see Wolverine in the fucking yellow and the mask on screen, that's going to be...
I'm going to have such a big boner.
Theaters are going to go nuts.
Yes.
Matt's gonna like.
You don't have Captain America in all black and Iron Man, like I
mean,
I'm not saying like really baby blue and yellow, but like navy blue and just like hints of yellow in it would be cool.
Not even yellow. You could even do like a vibrant gold.
Yeah, gold or something.
Oh, that'd be sick.
Or actually, well, Banner in the cartoons for a while he was like maroon and brown or something.
Yeah, and then at one
like
point he had black and orange, which was a pretty cool combination.
They did nail the leather jacket though that he wears on the motorcycle. That's like ripped straight out of the
I thought they did a really good job because obviously his hair and his beard are very, very accentuated in the comic books. I thought they did a good job of reining that in, but still showing us he's got those like flipped out kind of over his ears and those nasty, awesome chops. They did a really good job with his look.
Agreed. Not to keep piggybacking on everything Matt said, but I had actually had a thought rewatching this that I would have loved a Wolverine and Cyclops like buddy cop type X-Men movie. And when I say buddy cop, I don't mean like, it's a laugh a minute. I just mean like them two going off on like some mission together would have been a really fucking cool 90-minute movie.
I think what they could have done is Jean Grey goes off to turn into the Dark Phoenix, and Wolverine and Cyclops together go and try and find her.
And they're like tearing apart the Brotherhood or the Serpent Society or someone.
They are essentially replacing Magneto and Professor X as the end game is the same, but how they get there is going to be different.
Because there's a really great line at the very end when Mystique is impersonating different X-Men when they're at Ellis Island. And Wolverine walks in the room and he's like, "It's me, don't worry." And Cyclops goes, "Prove it." And Wolverine goes,
"You're a dick."
"You're a dick." And he goes, "Okay." Like that shit would work in a full movie. And like Matt said, I mean, I don't think they knew what they had at the time in James Marsden. I think he had done like some soap opera roles before he got this. But both of their dry wit with each other would have been really, really cool in a movie, especially as a follow-up to this. And then the last thing I had was just, this would be a great movie for action movie bingo. Or maybe we could even like slightly curb it to do superhero movie bingo. Because there are some CGI shots in this especially that are like, I mean, they were probably the first one to do it, but now I'm like, every fucking movie does that. Like the camera when Wolverine does his claw on the crown of the Statue of Liberty.
So fucking cool.
It's like the Matrix kind of did it before, then they did it, and then like everyone the next 4 or 5 years did it.
Another one that I thought was, which this isn't really CGI, but just a scene that always sticks with me is whenever they're on the train and Magneto obviously has control of Wolverine and he's got his arms like straight out, like crucified style, and he just shoots him back and his arms just fold in on themselves when he hits the doorway. That just feels so fucking painful, but it's, again, I just thought it was really creative how some of the things that they were able to do.
Yeah, I mean, you could tell Bryan Singer like was a big fan of the comics because he knew like situations to put the characters in with their powers that would work out. And like Matt was saying, almost to a detriment at some points with Storm, because she really does feel like she's just in like the most convenient spots. Like conveniently when they're in the
something
train,
hot, and we'll call you when we need you, kind of thing.
When they're in the train station, she's like, I can't use my powers. We're inside. So of course Cyclops, like trying to shoot Toad, accidentally blows the roof off. He's like, oh great, now I can do my lightning.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Well, we're outside town technically, right? It's like a foyer.
Yeah. All right. Anything else before we move on to what was actually happening in the year 2000 when this movie?
I got one question for you guys. Well, first I'll make a statement. Then I want you guys, and I don't know if Jeff can answer this question, but I don't ever want to see another X-Men movie ever again, ever. I don't even care if Marvel does it, and this is why, because it's impossible to do a fucking X-Men movie. X-Men needs to be like Game of Thrones. They have so many fucking characters. They need about 20 different storylines going on in a span of about 10 seasons. Now, they can show up in Marvel movies whenever need be, but every single time I'm on here, like everyone has a different favorite X-Men. Now, the majority loves Wolverine, but a lot of the comic book nerds some of the comic book nerds would probably love to see Pyro for like half an episode, just like Game of Thrones.
Well, we're huge Gambit fans. I mean, that
Gambit, yeah, but there's too many characters with too many great storylines. I mean, you have, what do you think? Probably 28 Iron Mans in X-Men. Just a ton of people with great storylines that can have their own. And
at least
they need to never make a movie again. They need
Here's
to have
the thing about X-Men, why it will never be, in my opinion, like you said, Matt, I agree with everything you said. It won't be successful in the theater again or more successful. Like they've hit their peak, right? The reason it has to be in a TV show is because the topics, and again, the things that X-Men is around, civil rights and things like that. You can't convey that in 90 minutes or even 2 or 3 hours in a movie. Those things have to be developed and explained, and we have to feel these characters' emotions and what they're going through. And that's going to take, a season or 2 seasons, 3 seasons, not to mention all the love triangles that we have and all of the, a lot of people don't even realize Mystique's son is Nightcrawler.
Mm-hmm.
So you can't just have them both show up in the same fucking movie and it makes sense.
Yeah.
It has to be in multiple movies.
And like
Quicksilver and Scarlet Witch.
And then there's the Brotherhood of Mutants, who's like this like underground group. But imagine, like Matt was saying, every season finale you could bring in like a new big fucking character.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And you could literally do that 10 times.
And TV's bitching right now.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not it was in the 2000s. If you pitch an X-Men TV series, everyone would be like, what the fuck's that?
Here's the thing. Disney, or now that Marvel owns it in Disney, they have the perfect opportunity to take this to that level with Disney Plus. Mm-hmm. They can drop it on Disney Plus. Now it's going to be darker.
They won't go dark enough there, man. That's the problem. It's
I know. That's the only thing I was just about to say, is that I don't think it can go dark enough there, but they're not going to give it to an HBO or an Amazon We're probably even a Netflix that will or can go darker. So I don't think that this
needs
dream
to be
of
like
ours
The
will ever
Boys or something like that. It needs
Yeah.
like, I was thinking the perfect way would it'd be on HBO. That'd be like the perfect scenario for this.
happen.
Yeah.
I think Netflix can do it. I mean, look what they did with Daredevil and the Defenders and all those. I think if they did it,
you can get big. I mean, Tom Hardy would play Wolverine on a TV show. Like, he fucking has been part of like a ton of TV shows. You
it's
can
too
get
soon.
big actors.
It's too
to do
soon.
it.
It's too soon. I think Zac Efron would be a good Wolverine in about 15 years.
What?
Okay, well, we're recording this, so
I love Efron, but
I'm
what?
just saying. I think in 15 years, get him.
I think he'd be a
he's
good
gonna be-
Cyclops, maybe.
He's too small.
dude, I'm pushing Taron Egerton for Cyclops.
Yeah.
I
You
can see
it?
that.
Put the glasses on him. All right, you guys ready for some 2000s pop culture? This is just to put it into reference how long ago this movie actually came out. Like, and it still holds up today. All right. So Breathe by Faith Hill was the top song on the Billboard charts, which is the Just Breathe, 2 a.m. and I'm something else. That song. Say My Name came out, and of course No Strings Attached was released. And then, Geiger, you got to love this, Marshall Mathers LP was released also.
Damn right it was.
Change the... Our parents didn't want us fucking near that thing, am I right?
We didn't care, though.
That made
And
me
fuck,
want
yeah.
more. Napster was sued by Dr. Dre and Metallica.
Metallica was all about killing Napster, and now that's the only way to get music, which is really interesting.
I think Metallica cared more about shutting down Napster than actually making their own music for like the next 5 years. It was like their only focus. This was a cool one. I thought this was 0-1 for some reason, but the Rams beat the Titans in the Super Bowl. That was London Fletcher's the tackle of Kevin Dyson, holding him like half a yard short.
1 yard line.
Wow.
Great fucking game too. I mean,
Was that right before or right after the Rams changed their uniforms
right before
to the navy blue and gold?
Yeah, before.
Greatest show on turf.
Dude, I remember as kids, I feel like every Super Bowl was like, there was never a boring game. There was never like that Patriots-Rams game we had.
Ugh.
I feel like they were always awesome.
I don't think so, no.
There was never, I mean, as a kid, obviously, like, it's the Super Bowl. You're like, fuck yeah. But I don't ever remember being like, this is stupid. The World Series was a Subway Series between the Mets and Yankees. How fun for the rest of the country.
That's when Clemens threw the bat at Piazza, right, or something?
Yeah. Well, Piazza was apparently shouldn't run to first base after I don't know, something. Gladiator won Best Picture.
Uh-huh.
All right. The presidential election was between Bush and Gore. We had the Florida recount.
I remember how
I'll
big
never
of a fucking
forget that.
deal that was.
Hanging
I was in
Chad, a
eighth
bunch of old
grade.
people.
And so, like, teachers are like us now, which is weird because, you'd hear the teachers talk about it and, like, what the fuck are we doing? How can we not count right?
Well, a bunch
all
of
these
old
kids can
people-
count better than Florida. Like, what the fuck?
We didn't have it done electronically, and I think the hanging chads was the thing. Like, a bunch of people in Florida claimed they, like, punched their hole, and the thing was, like, hanging there. It didn't fall off.
Well, and it took like a week to even know who the president was, which
These
mean, let's be honest. I mean, I think there was maybe some shit going on behind the scenes that I think Gore actually won it, didn't he? We found out later.
I think they announced him, but it was like closer than it had ever been. And Bush's people were like, dude, you have to ask them to recount this. Like, it's fucking 90-year-old women carrying a box from like the polling booth into the. You can't trust that. I don't know. I'm with Geiger. I'll never forget that.
It's crazy because it was such a big deal, but I had no idea like why it was a big deal at the time.
Because as a kid, you don't care. It's nothing.
And because that was Clinton year, so literally like, I mean, we knew we were gonna get a new president, and like Clinton's like, who do I need to show shit to? Because we don't have one yet.
Who do I give the keys to?
Yeah.
J-Lo wore that dress to the green one. If you don't know the dress I'm talking about, take your laptop in the other room, Google J-Lo green dress.
Bottle of hand soap.
Yeah, get just because it's always good in this day and age to stay sanitized.
Moisturize.
And turn on the fan in the bathroom and see you in 30 seconds.
Yeah, try not to grunt so much.
This kind of made me sad. Brad and Jennifer Aniston got married, and so did Angelina Jolie and Billy Bob Thornton.
Wow.
I had no idea that was the same year.
I remember Angelina Jolie and Billy Bob Thornton showed up to something. Maybe it was the Oscars, like the next year, and they had these like lockets around their necks, and they had a vial of the other person's blood on the end of them.
And she was like making out. She was like kissing his neck when he was interviewing. He said, "Yeah, we fucked in the car on the way here." That's what he told the reporter.
Jesus Christ. I mean, she could get away with that shit back then. You know, Brad was
still kind of get away with it now.
Brad was with
Billy Bob, like really? Like what are we doing?
I know, I don't get it. It's because it's not like she's rich and famous too. It's not like it's his money or anything.
I know, but it's like, you know, actors usually you got to be good looking to get chicks. Now rock stars you can slide, but I mean I don't know.
I wanted to ask if this was before or after he looked like he's done all the meths, but I remembered he's always looked like that.
Yeah, he's always looked like that.
I think he did all the meth. He was like, when he did Sling Blade, he was actually trying to melt his brain, and then he's never recovered from it. And then the last thing I had, this one's kind of crazy. I didn't know this till I was doing my research today, but Netflix offered to sell their whole company to Blockbuster for $50 million. And I wrote, Blockbuster snorted a line of coke off a stripper's ass and told them to take a hike. Because we're fucking gods, is what Blockbuster thought.
Dodged a fucking bullet there.
Boehner actually wrote a squad blog about the Blockbuster versus Netflix deal in 2000. But if I remember right,
was around in 2000?
They must have just been getting started, and their idea was only like, we'll ship DVDs to your house.
I think they started in 97, if I'm not mistaken.
But Blockbuster apparently laughed him out of the room when they asked for $50 million. It just goes to show you how times have changed.
You know, we have someone that used to be CEO of Blockbuster now just like at home listening to this pod being like, yeah, you know, well, different times, you know.
You should have heard their pitch. It was awful.
Want you to judge. I don't want you to judge me on my winners. I want you to judge me on my losers because I have so few.
The only thing you will tell me about this stock is that you wish you would have bought more.
Netflix was founded in 97.
Damn.
Jesus Christ. Okay.
But, yeah, Netflix probably went in that room like, dude, we're about to go out of business. This is a fucking Hail Mary. And then a few years later, some guy was like, dude, what if we just stream this shit straight to their computer?
They're like, hey, dial-up is going away, so people can actually do this now.
Dude, I didn't even think about that, but like, yeah, when dial-up was the only internet, there's no way you could stream anything.
No. Not a chance in hell.
All right, guys, X-Men turns 20. Happy birthday. Before we move on to Protein Shake, anything else you guys want to add about the movie, Banner?
This isn't the best, and it's probably not even the second best of the X-Men movies that this movie birthed, we'll say, but it's the most important. I think X2 is better, and obviously Logan is better. Days of Future Past is
pretty good.
You can convince me. You can convince me it's better, but you could also convince me that it's not better.
First Class is pretty flawless. Yeah, it holds up really well.
I didn't. It gets better with age. I didn't like it the first time I saw it. Not gonna lie.
Geiger,
I think Kevin Bacon is awful.
What? It did pretty much what a lot of, well, it kind of set the tone. They made a pretty good first movie, a B+ or an A-, and their second movie is one of the best in comic book history. Follow that, Christopher Nolan did that. Spider-Man 2 did that. I mean, that usually doesn't, you have something when your second movie is head and shoulders better than your first movie, and your first movie is really fucking good and broke the box office. This is a really good trilogy. I don't even really mind X3 that much. I don't think they knew what to do. They didn't. I mean, no one has done that before. Actually, had 3 really good movies and they didn't know how to end it.
X3, they like kind of wanted to do Dark Phoenix, but like they didn't really want to do Dark Phoenix.
Yeah,
they didn't know how to do Dark Phoenix. They still don't know how to do Dark Phoenix 20 fucking years later.
Like, what has changed? They still don't know how to fucking do it.
Yeah, the second one is...
I mean, you got to tease that since the first one. If you're going to do Dark Phoenix, you got to tease it since the first one. And they didn't do that at all. It's just the third one's like, all right, remember that from the comic? That's going to happen now.
They shoehorned it in. They shoehorned it in the second one, and not in a good way.
The latest one was like, dude, there's no fuck. This is our last one. We know it because Marvel bought us. We don't give a fuck. It doesn't connect to anything.
I don't think I'll ever see it.
They killed people that are like in the original X-Men. I'm like, what? You can't do that. Like, who gives a shit? Just give us $15.
I'd rather relive 2020 every single day for 10 years than watch fucking Dark Phoenix for 2 hours.
Now that I know you said that, if I win trivia, I'm going to make you do a commentary on Dark Phoenix.
Okay.
All right, the next
Can't I just relive 2020 for 10 years?
And Matt will be like 9 years into it. He's like, I still don't regret it. I've heard Jennifer Lawrence totally mails it in. And this is much better. All right, second part of our show is our protein shake, where we go around and talk about what's in our cup, also known as what have we watched lately. I don't have much this week. Banner, I know you haven't been on since like leap year of 2014. So do you want to go first?
Let me go first. I'm going to knock a lot of these things out because a lot of these are rewatches and, to be honest with you, things that I watched with my daughter that really don't need to be talked about. But
they do.
They just need to be acknowledged.
I am going to go piss, though. So if you can see my notes, the stuff that we shared together, can you just save? Because I know there's at least 2 things. All right.
Of course.
Go for it.
All right. So first off, let's just get some of these shitty ones out of the way. Disney Plus, guys. Obviously, we know I live on there because of my daughter. There is a show on there. It's a cooking show called Be Our Chef. And they basically take a family or multiple families.
Wait. Is it B, like his name is B. R, like his name would be like Buford Robert Chef. So it's Be Our Chef.
No. It's called Be Our Chef.
I'd like it better if it was B. R Chef. It was one guy and that was his name. Never mind. Okay,
yeah.
Go on.
No, it's actually like a cooking show. It's like Hell's Kitchen or Iron Chef or whatever. Okay. And they take 5 families that like to cook together and pit them against each other in like a round robin tournament. And then whoever has the most points at the end goes up against each other for the finale. And if they win a Disney cruise, which
that sounds like a Nickelodeon show. I'm actually kind of interested right now in that.
First off, these families are making meals that I wouldn't even buy in a restaurant because I don't know what the fuck it is, but they look amazing. It's a lot of fun. Like Baby Banner's 2, and she loved it. Granted, she likes to help us cook, and mainly that just means we shred the cheese and she just stuffs it in her mouth as fast as she can.
Yeah.
But it was a lot of fun. You have these families that are just having fun cooking together, and then you have these world-renowned chefs that are like, yeah, that was kind of shitty. It needs more salt and too much paprika. But, I mean, it looks beautiful, and they're just shitting on these, like, 10-year-old kids. So watch that. It was fun. Watched, as we all know, 4th of July wasn't too long ago, so I watched all 3 Captain America movies, something I've been doing for a few years ago. What?
Well, you just rewatched the MCU like 2 months ago, right?
Yeah, maybe 2, 6, something like that. But come on, Winter Soldier is probably one of the best superhero movies out there. I mean, it got second in our tournament, and Civil War went deep as well. They're just good fucking movies. Get off my back.
Yeah, it's really interesting. Like the first movie, I actually think is really underrated. The first Cap movie.
I don't know, man. It's fucking boring. I don't. Like
I mean, it's a slow build. I get it, but I think it does justice to like his origin story. But it's really interesting how compelling of storytelling you can do with the Cap and Bucky dynamic. Like everything they've been through and the way they're used in the comics. It's just so fucking interesting to watch.
Yeah, they do a really good job with building that relationship through all 3 movies. Watched the Little Mermaid live. Again, we know I live on Disney Plus. Queen Latifah was Ursula. Guys, she fucking killed it.
I was gonna say I could see that.
Yeah, she did a great job.
Poor Unfortunate Souls rendition.
Good. It wasn't, in my opinion, Rebel Wilson good from the sing-along, but Rebel Wilson is my Ursula, I've decided.
Rebel Wilson hammed it up perfectly enough.
She did. If that was her audition, then she nailed it, and they just need to sign the contract.
But she's trying to get skinny again, and Ursula needs to be... She's like, oh, I'll get fat again, no worries.
Yeah, well, whatever.
Was
I don't
she skinny before? Did she just get fat for comedy, like Will Ferrell?
No, I don't know if she was skinny before, but she's gotten like she's done like the Jonah Hill, where she like every time you see her, she's a different. It can't be for the body to.
I think she just moved to America and started eating a lot of like fried foods that she wasn't used to eating.
Nice.
All England eats is fish and chips. They have like the worst food in the world, though.
Isn't she Australian?
I withdraw the statement.
Moving on. Watch Black Panther as well. Just throw that in there. Scoob.
Great movie.
The new Scooby-Doo movie. It actually dropped on HBO Max, which I was shocked because it literally came out as a new movie that you can theater at home.
I was gonna say, I think
2 weeks ago.
I don't know what HBO paid them, but I think they left some money on the table with VOD because it was not even like a month old.
No, and guys, this movie is fucking great.
I was gonna say, if like you rented it for Baby Banner like 3 weeks ago, I could see here one night being like, I want to watch it again. You would have paid the $4.99 or whatever to play it again. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I think the problem with a lot of these new ones is they're making them like $17 or $20 to rent. So, which is fine on a one-time go, but you got to take it and go, is this good enough for me to want to pay $20 every 2 or 3 weeks?
You just buy it digitally for like 10 most
right.
places.
Or just wait. Apparently, you wait 2 weeks and it'll be on HBO Max. Guys, this movie is fucking hilarious. I'm not a big fan of Will Forte, but he does a good job.
Is he Fred?
Yeah, he's Scooby.
Oh, Scooby! Wow.
Or I'm sorry, not Scooby. Shaggy. Yeah. Efron is Fred.
Now we got to get Matt's opinion because Matt said in the text thread that he hates Scooby-Doo, or has never been.
I didn't say I hated it. I just was never a fan. I never watched it. I didn't think it wasn't for me. I don't say I hated it. It just wasn't for me. I'm talking about the cartoons. The movies were atrocious, but I just never cared. I think it was more my dad's generation. I think was more Scooby-Doo because some of the special guests they have on, I'm like, who the fuck's this guy?
The Globetrotters.
Yeah, it's like the drummer
Donnie
from the Monkees. Like, I don't know who that is. Don't care.
Matt, I don't think you'll love this, but I think you'll enjoy this. There's just enough adult humor, and you're like, okay, that was funny, and just silly, goofy things that make it work. It's not your traditional, we have a ghost that we're going to find. It's a little bit more, there's a little bit more depth to it.
Well, they're creating the Hanna-Barbera universe, I read, animated.
Really? I did not know that.
But Banner, I did hear, this is something that once I read, I was like, oh, Geiger will fucking hate that. I did hear there's a Simon Cowell joke that goes on like way too long.
Yeah, they use Simon. I don't know how much money Simon Cowell paid them to put him in this movie, but it was too much. I'll just say that. They use him. Using him once is fine. They use him more than once, and it is not fine.
I would even argue using him once isn't fine.
Yeah, you could argue that. The way they did it, it was fine. It was harmless, as Matt likes to say.
I want to put Scoob and Dark Phoenix's names in a hat and draw one and see which one Geiger, if he had to watch, he'd have the more visceral reaction to.
I think Dark Phoenix would be way worse. I mean, I'd rather watch Scooby-Doo than Dark Phoenix.
I actually think you're right.
Yeah,
I haven't seen.
If I watched Scooby-Doo, I'd enjoy it. It wasn't my thing.
That's fair. I wasn't a fan of the Flintstones and Jetsons, and it's like the same era.
I love the Flintstones and Jetsons.
I love their vitamins.
I could watch Flintstones all. Jetsons were a little. I like the Jetsons. They're a little space for, but Flintstones, I thought that was one of the most creative shows I've ever fucking seen.
Well, Matt, you and your wife like are Fred and Wilma. I feel like.
You mean Barney and Betty?
No, I think you're Fred and Wilma more.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. Barney is like a fucking dunce, dude. Like.
We went as Barney and Betty once for Halloween.
That's probably like Inception a little bit in my brain, but
yeah,
you probably also did it because you know that you are them.
Well, and because I had a big friend and his wife was skinny, and I was like, oh, you should go as Fred and Wilma. It'd be funny.
So you really just based it off them, and you were like,
yeah,
can be whoever.
Well, my wife's brunette, so I'm like, that makes sense.
You couldn't have been as bad as Baldwin was.
No, Baldwin was terrible.
But that's in Viva Rock, I
Moranis
guess.
was great though. That's a very underrated movie, The Flintstones.
Yeah,
I agree.
That's
That's a good you should do.
Moving along, watch Ratatouille again. Guys, it's not an underrated movie. It's just not a talked about movie. Ratatouille is fan-fucking-tastic.
It is good.
Just the idea of having a rat that's a world-renowned chef, it's just funny.
And Patton Oswalt, I mean, you put him in fucking anything. You put him in like the safety video on an airplane. I'd be like, oh, that was entertaining.
Yeah, I'd watch. Can I watch it again? Actually,
can't remember what to do with the emergency exits. Can we play that one more time?
Yeah. All right, Jeff. I know we talked about this a little bit off pod. I watched Knives Out. Geiger, have you seen this yet?
He refuses.
No, I refuse. I'm still at protest. God. Some of you all have left the streets and forgot. I'm still standing here with my picket sign. I'll never leave.
Geiger's like at the theater when Knives Out. He's just standing by the front, knowing that we'll show up. He's like, "Oh, Judas, I see. Hope the seat's comfy."
Well, it was comfy because I loved this movie.
I'm sure I'd love it too, but god damn it, after a while, you got to have some standards, Banner. You got to live by a code.
Do you?
I love when Matt gets mad when he likes a movie. I've seen it many times. We look out and he's like, "Fuck," and his wife's like, "What? You hate it?" He's like, "No, I'm mad because I loved it."
I'm even sure I'd like Chris Evans in it. Like I've seen him in the trailer. I'm like, I bet I'd like him in this role. But too bad Ryan Johnson did it. I refuse to see it.
Well, Michael Shannon is why you would have a blast in this movie.
Yeah, Michael Shannon is absolutely.
I love Jamie Lee Curtis too. I love Daniel Craig. I love pretty much everyone in this movie.
Don Johnson is awesome.
I love Don Johnson's.
He is the scene stealer in it. They tried to say you Chris Evans is, but sorry, man.
Jeff, do you think this is Chris Evans' best role? I do.
I have a really pretentious answer that I'm going to say to that. He's in a movie called London with Jessica Biel.
God, this is so pretentious.
Well, him and Jessica Biel were fucking for like 3 minutes in the mid-2000s. They did a movie called London together. Jason Statham's in it. The whole movie is Jessica Biel just dumped Chris Evans, and her friend is having a birthday party. So Chris Evans shows up to the party, like basically uninvited, and it's literally an hour of him and Jason Statham doing blow in the bathroom, both planning to go out and talk to someone they don't want to talk to. It's his best role.
Right. Well,
Tiger's Light actually sounds fucking awesome. You would love it. It's literally an hour of them in the bathroom doing lines.
Sounds pretty cool. I like blow.
The movie or the drug?
Yes.
Never mind. We all know the answer to that. All right. Moving.
One thing I want to say about Knives Out, the reason I think it works so well is you don't get too much of any one character.
Correct.
So you're never like sick of Chris Evans or sick of Don Johnson, or I mean, you could never be sick of Michael Shannon, but you're never, or Ana de Armas, who her character, her little quirk, which I won't spoil. Some people are like, dude, are you fucking kidding me? Like, really? But I thought it was kind of cool.
I liked it. I think that, which I hate to say because it validates Ryan Johnson and what he did, but taking the whodunit movie and kind of turning it upside down.
He does something with a murder mystery that I didn't think would ever work.
No, but
I don't
want
to say what it is.
Yeah, it worked. I mean, you can't. It's really hard to talk about this movie without spoiling anything.
I mean, is it a spoiler to say the twist happens in the first 30 minutes, and then you know there's a second twist, but you don't know where it's coming from?
It's almost like watching. It's almost like watching the movie backwards. You find out very early on what actually happened, and now it's figuring out
why it happened.
Right. Which is, I don't know. It's a cool concept. I like the movie. I'll give credit where credit is due.
But that's kind of what I hate about Ryan Johnson is he can't just make a fucking movie. He's got to make a fucking movie.
I also will say the cast is what sold the movie. If you didn't have even removed one of those people and replaced them with somebody else, the movie would not have delivered the same way. So the cast is really what made this movie.
I forgot how good Toni Collette is in it. She is really great. She's like the blonde chick who's like married into the family and her husband died. So everyone's kind of like, why the fuck are you even?
Why are you still hanging around? Oh yeah, you're getting an allowance of $2 million a year. I forgot.
Right.
All right. Now we're getting into some good meat and potatoes. So I don't remember why or how, but we started talking about Planet of the Apes a couple months ago. I don't know. I was super fucked up, so I don't remember how or why, but I went back and watched all 4 of the Planet of the Apes movies. Geiger, that War for Planet of the Apes is one of the best fucking movies out there. We actually did a review on it. It is fan-fucking-tastic. And I actually have half of a squad blog wrote how you can connect all 4 of these movies together. Obviously, the Mark Wahlberg one from 2001. Dude, it's a fucking awful movie. Let me ask you this.
That was only 2001?
2001.
Damn, I thought that was like 08.
What has Tim Burton done that's like...
Oh, Geiger and I have been over this. Tim Burton sucks.
Dude, he is... Like...
He's literally like...
I didn't say Tim Burton sucks. Let's put that on the record first. But yeah, he's had more misses than makes. Let's say that.
Is this our next podcast? The title of the episode will be, guys, Tim Burton actually sucks.
I mean, it's got to be, right?
He did the 2 Batman movies and, Beetlejuice. But that was all Keaton anyway. And everything else is fucking horrible.
Tim Burton is Marilyn Manson, and they actually came at the same time. People like him. They don't know why. It's just because, I like edgy rock, so I must like Marilyn Manson. Although his best songs are just fucking remakes from other fucking people. Like, none of his best songs he actually wrote. Like, Sweet Dreams Are Made of These. That was a fucking stupid 80s song. That's basically Tim Burton. But if you're edgy and you have tattoos and you tried to kill yourself once, you have to like Tim Burton.
And you had your
Marilyn
ribs
Manson.
removed.
That's just the way it is.
Yeah, Tim Burton and Marilyn Manson are way better in your head than when you actually sit down and think about like what they've done. He hasn't done a good movie in 15 years, and that depends how you feel. This is sad that his legacy in the past 15 years, we could be 2 decades, but some people liked Big Fish. So which was in 2000.
Well, I'm done talking about Tim Burton. So we're gonna go to what I call the Rise franchise: Rise of Planet of the Apes, Dawn, and War of Planet of the Apes. Guys, this trilogy is fantastic. The through line story and growing this Planet of the Apes origin story is really, really cool. It's just good fucking storytelling at the end of the day. I don't think anybody shines and does this, oh my God, this person did a great job. It's just a good fucking story.
If you can make me...
Go ahead, Jeff.
I was just going to say, if you can make me believe that James Franco is like taking a role seriously, good job.
I can't believe no one's bringing it up that before War came out, I said this is the tired-ass franchise that I've ever fucking seen live on pod. And then you guys made me watch the first 2, and I watched the trailer. I'm just like, so, Ben, are we seeing this on opening night? These movies are fucking great. And I basically just went back on my word on saying this is the most tired-ass franchise I've ever seen. And then I was there opening night shoving people out of the way so I could get a front row seat to watch this movie. It's great. It's a great franchise.
It's great. It was a great cherry on top for that franchise. The way that it started, the way that they tied up all the loose ends, and then obviously the ending was great. I'm gonna take that ending. I'll release a squad blog. I don't know. Eventually, let's be honest.
Well, and in the Rise series, they each get darker as you go, right?
Way darker as you go. I mean, War for the Planet of the Apes is a really fucking dark movie.
Yeah,
really fucking dark movie.
Woody Harrelson.
God,
Jesus.
I love him.
Okay, I take back my statement as nobody stood out. He fucking that right. It was really,
Natural
really
Born
good.
Killers took that pill before.
Yeah. But I'm gonna write a squad blog how Disney can take, because obviously they own the rights to them now with 20th Century Fox. They can take all 4 of these movies and get at least 2, if not another 35 movies out of these things. Last thing that I think doesn't share with anybody else, Justice League, the Flashpoint Paradox.
Love this movie.
So fucking good.
The darkest animated film I have ever seen in my life.
It's, yeah, Son of Batman's pretty fucking dark too, but
this one has like straight up gun to someone's temple and the trigger is pulled and they don't cut away.
They don't turn away. I know. It's the
Like
idea
Batman's dad, Flashpoint Batman, just literally shoots fucking anyone that looks at him wrong in the head.
in the head. He doesn't. He gives zero fucks given.
Like, did you litter?
Yeah. Oh, you didn't?
Sorry. Well, why'd you shoot me when you said sorry? That doesn't.
Really, really good. I'm excited. Although I don't know what the fuck HBO is doing, but they put a lot of those DC animated movies on HBO Max, and then they pulled them away, and now they're adding more. I don't fucking know. I don't think they know what they're doing, but watch on HBO Max and
Matt, no.
Joe.
It's really good. I like the idea of how if you change one thing in the past, those ripples become bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger, and then 15, 20 years later, you don't recognize the world. And how one little thing can fix it.
I want to get Matt. I think we might have talked about this movie before, but it's probably been a decade. Skip ahead 30 seconds. You just have to plus 30 if you haven't seen Flashpoint Paradox, the animated DC movie. But Matt, in it, remember how Bruce Wayne, when the Joker kills his parents, he actually kills Bruce Wayne instead.
Yeah, and then his mom becomes the Joker, and his dad becomes a badass Batman.
Now, do you want to see that in live action, or do you not give a fuck right now about that?
I mean, you haven't even developed Flash enough for me to give a fuck. So if you're gonna have to make me give a fuck about the main characters for me want to go back in time to an alternate fucking universe to give a fuck. It's a cool. I mean, they teased it in BVS, which I thought was cool because they can do a lot of stuff. Now I just want to go back in time to a time when Warner Brothers just doesn't own DC and we can do something else with it. I don't really care. They haven't done enough with the main characters.
But he's like,
I'd be there. I mean, if you want, yeah, sure, I'll go. It's like, are you ever going to drink again? No. Do you want to go to the bar? They're having 2 first tonight. Yeah, I guess I'll show up and maybe have a rum and coke.
Well, you're losing money if you don't go.
2 of them.
Right.
All right. Getting to the bottom of the barrel here. Everything is shared that we've seen. We did a commentary on Mortal Kombat.
Yep.
The
dropping July 17th.
Jesus Christ.
It's horrible.
It's great.
It's
great fucking movie.
Fucking piece of shit I've ever
seen.
I had so much fun.
We were hammered drunk. It was a blast, guys. It's on Netflix. It's dropping in 3 days, probably 2 days after you listen to this. Just fucking spend your Friday night watching Mortal Kombat with us. That's my pitch.
We made it better.
I had a blast. I had a fucking blast. I'll just say that.
We carried it like Anne Hathaway to James Franco at the Oscars. We carried it across the fucking finish line.
We dragged its corpse across the race course.
All right. Next thing, and we'll actually... I watched X-Men, obviously, with the 20 years coming up. I think I already said that. No need to talk about that. We talked about that enough earlier. Hamilton came out on Disney Plus.
Yep.
Jeff, I know you watched this. Matt, I know you don't watch Disney Plus.
I don't do Disney Plus.
Say what you want about Matt. The dude, when he fucking digs in, he's going to take the charge.
You got to respect. You don't have to agree with me. You got to respect me.
That's very fair. Yeah. That's very fair. And there's been times where I know Matt was close to budging when The Mandalorian was out.
Still haven't seen it.
He held his ground.
He did. You have way more willpower. Your willpower is like you have more willpower in your left pinky toe than I have in my entire body.
My kid's not even born yet. It'll be his high school graduation. I'll nudge someone's like, "Have you seen The Mandalorian season 1? It's pretty good."
You're like, I've heard that. Never fucking watched it. Like, don't you have a podcast where you watch movies? I do. My kids are graduating. Let's watch it.
I'll sign something for you later. Busy right now.
Jeff, what'd you think of Hamilton?
So I'm not a huge Broadway guy, and the only reason I say that is because I don't think that I have the palate to appreciate like good theatrical performances. But I'll say this was really entertaining. I still think it is overhyped, but that's only because, I mean, this thing is like in the cultural zeitgeist right now. It's like fucking astronomically important. And I get it, and I love what they did. It's just, to me, one of the best written things I've ever seen in my life. It is basically, Matt, if you haven't seen it, it's 2 hours of like free verse rap, basically. Like
Well,
literally,
it's a history lesson at the
I know
same
what
time.
Hamilton is.
but I didn't know if you knew like the way it was structured. Like
Yeah,
there's
I
no
know
dialogue.
what it is.
They're basically
Yeah.
rapping the entire time.
Yeah.
And it's pretty cool. Like I mean, they dropped the F-bomb 3 times on Disney Plus, so that alone is groundbreaking.
About like our country, right? How we like in it set back in like 1776. Is that right?
Yeah, it's basically like
Alexander Hamilton, is that what it's about, or
is he in it?
I mean, he has a brief cameo.
He touches base. It's kind of cool because it's about like the first 2 presidential elections, basically.
okay? I
But-
find it interesting. I love world history, especially Revolutionary Civil War time. So
And the performers are great. But again, it's not like it's just not my exact cup of tea, but I can really appreciate.
I don't know if I want to hear a rap about it. I'd rather just see a show, but I'm just one guy living
sorry,
on
Banner.
the couch.
Before I give you the floor, I really liked it. I knew going in that like I wasn't going to be able to appreciate it as much as someone who knew what they were looking for.
I am in the same boat as you. I like going to plays and things like that, but I also sit up in the nosebleeds where I can't see their facial expressions anyway. So I just have a good time at them. The setting that I saw this in is obviously on my couch watching it. That's not the right setting, I think, to see this. You can't feel the energy in the theater, and I think that's really important. That takes this movie or this show to that next level. Again, I'm like you. I really liked it. I enjoyed it. It was a 2.5-hour history lesson of honestly a lot of things I didn't know. I mean, you kind of know the peripheral of these things, but they really dig deep into some of the history of Alexander Hamilton and of the time frame, which was cool and entertaining. Obviously, the way that it's presented, with everything being rap or slam poetry and things like that, was a really unique way of giving me a history lesson. At the end of the day, though, I feel like that's what it is. It is a giant history lesson. Like you said, what this show is doing in society today is extremely important.
Mm-hmm.
Extremely important. And it couldn't have come at a better time. But I feel like it would have impacted me differently and probably better if I saw it as a stage performance as opposed to a movie at home.
And I just don't have $1,800 to buy 2 tickets.
Yeah, I don't.
And I'm not saying it's not worth that. I'm just saying
Well, then you're a communist, so.
you're a fascist pig. So line is drawn in the sand. But it was cool that this came to Disney Plus because, like, honestly, otherwise, I don't think I would have ever seen it.
I think it's going to open the door for them to do essentially other history lessons in this same manner. Maybe not as a stage play, but actually as a motion picture, which I think would be fine. Especially if you're just going to drop it on streaming services. It's a step above that Netflix trash that we always talk about, but not quite a feature film.
Definitely.
And
anything else?
Now that I talked for 45 minutes, I think that's all I have.
All right, Geiger, what's in your cup?
You're lucky. I'm going to get us back on time because I only have one thing to talk about. And that's what I watched this weekend. And that was nothing.
Nice.
Everybody, this is some of the favorite segments on some of our diehard fans. And they actually they'll take our consideration, watch some of these shows. So take my consideration on this. Henrik, everyone listening to us. I went back home. I live about 10 hours away. I saw family. I played a lot of golf with my cousins. I spent time with my wife. And it wasn't until about 8 hours into the trip, I realized I haven't really even looked at my phone other than just to shoot a text to my wife or look up some golf thing because I wasn't putting well. I didn't watch TV. I wasn't on Facebook. I wasn't on Twitter. I wasn't on anything. And then I just decided I'm going to do this until I drive home Monday. So from Friday afternoon until Monday about 3:00, I didn't check a work email. I didn't check a coronavirus update. I didn't look at a political debate on Facebook. I didn't watch TV. I didn't do anything but spent time with my family, spent time with my wife, golfed, which is something I love to do. And that's all I did. And for that 3 days, I felt fucking normal for the first time since probably March 12th. And I suggest everyone does that. Maybe not for 3 days, just for one day. Don't look at your phone. Even if you shut Broforce Squad off, if that's what you are into, that's cool. But I know sometimes Broforce Squad thing will come off to the side of you that says, "Hey man, check out this. This cases are rising," or this is a terrible political climate, or we don't treat each other with respect. Just fucking go spend time with actual people. Don't watch people on the video and see days when I didn't I'm and I'm with my wife. Didn't check my phone, didn't watch TV, didn't do fucking anything. I challenge everyone to do that for at least one day this weekend. Pick a Friday, pick a Saturday, and just see social media sometimes has a hold and grab on us that we don't realize until you get away from it. And you feel, and I hate when people say you can't get away right now. You can't go to Hawaii. You can't go to Vegas. You can't go to anything because we're all doing. Yeah, you can. You could even stay in your house and get away. So don't watch anything. Don't look at anything. Don't let it control you. Just live your life. Be with your friends. Drink a beer. If you like golfing, do that. If you like hiking, do that. If you like whatever the fuck you're into. But I didn't watch anything. It's fucking awesome.
That was very well said, as always, Matt. And if I can maybe bring a tear to your eye, you know who you sounded like right there? Bodhi from Point Break.
Jesus? Oh, yeah.
No, even
better than Jesus.
Better.
Bodhi. Okay.
You know what's funny? If Matt would have guessed Jesus and I go better, his next guess would have been Bodhi.
Johnny Utah? Better. Oh, Bodhi then.
Oh, fuck.
Oh, okay. All right.
You even put Johnny Utah ahead of the Messiah? Well said, Matt. Yeah, I think perspective right now is really important for all of us. And that's kind of, the pod, I think, for all of us is a lot of times the 2 hours a week where we get to just not worry about all the bullshit. But like Matt was saying, if you get to spend time with your family and the people you love, none of this other shit. This is why we do what we do, why we work, why we live, basically, is to spend time with those people. So that's good to hear, man.
We try to be your outlet, guys, but honestly, I don't have any self-control. I'll listen to a Broforce Squad, and then I'll see at the side, I'm like, oh, Dr. Fauci said this. I'm like, what is it? I'm like, it's going to scare me, piss me off, do something. I'm like, just get away from it. Just for a day. Just get away from shit for a day. You will feel better, trust me. I haven't felt as good as I did the last 3 days in a really fucking long time because I got away from all the bullshit.
That's awesome.
Wow.
As always, Matt kills the protein shake. Okay, I only watched 3 things. And actually 2 of these I think Matt would really like. So Da 5 Bloods, the new Spike Lee movie that's on Netflix, which I think was going to be a theatrical release until all the COVID shit happened. Matt, have you seen a trailer for this?
No. Well, say what it is, maybe.
It's about 5 Vietnam veterans, they're obviously African American. One of them died in Vietnam, but when they were in Vietnam, they found this treasure that the Viet Cong had, and they buried it. And they said, when we get home, we're going to come back and get this.
No, I'm already in though, because I love those.
And so
stories,
and so the great part is, so Chadwick Boseman plays the one of them who died.
Even more in now.
The Vietnam.
Oh, he died.
War.
Shit, he dies in it. Okay, well, he's in it. Okay.
Well, so he's the one who died in the Vietnam War. And his body is buried next to the treasure. So they have double reason to go back. And the movie is them all reuniting after 30 years, going back to Vietnam now that it's not war torn anymore and kind of a tourist attraction. And they hunt together to find this treasure and to find Stormin' Norm, who is Chadwick Boseman's character. And it's just great fucking filmmaking, dude. It's the most Geiger thing I ever saw, because when I was watching it, I was like, this has everything. A cool story, lots of twists and turns, great acting, and it's historical fiction, which I think we love, like Inglourious Bastards and shit.
Yeah.
It's all...
It's like a pirate concept even kind of too. You're going back after the treasure. It's fucking cool.
It is. And all the things that you would think would happen, these guys get together, and of course, maybe some of them were dishonest about how well or poorly their life has gone. And maybe they all have kind of different reasons for being there. But then there's all these flashbacks with Chadwick Boseman. And he kind of led their group of friends. And now that he's gone, it's how does this dynamic really work? I don't know. It's an incredible movie. It's probably going to win. It's going to be with an asterisk because of 2020. But I think this is our best picture winner for 2020.
We get a lot of Chadwick Boseman.
You do. He's not alive in the present time, but the movie is probably 30% flashbacks, and he's the star of all those.
Awesome.
flashbacks. It's called Da Five Bloods, Da like DA, and it's a Netflix original now. They bought it from whatever studio had it. So if you have Netflix, obviously go on and watch it. I also saw I Know This Much Is True on HBO Max, that Mark Ruffalo series where he plays. This is a historical fiction book also. It was based on a book, excuse me. He plays two twins, one who's like a paranoid schizophrenic, and then obviously the other one is not. It's his twin brother. I won't say too much about it because it's just really interesting, but I'll say this. This is the best Mark Ruffalo performance I've ever seen. He is going to win an Emmy for this. It's 6 one-hour episodes. It's not fun, but it's really fucking good. Like, it's definitely not fun. Like,
Is it entertaining?
It's pretty fucking entertaining. It's
Will
a
I
good
have
like.
fun watching this. No,
It's
not at all.
No, you'll hate it. No, but it's
Kind of
dark.
like Ozark. Like, you don't have fun watching Ozark. You just stressed.
But you can't not watch the next episode.
But you love it. Yeah.
Yeah. And when I first saw the trailer, I was like, dude, this is fucking Ruffalo's acting. He's playing fucking twins. And then I watch it and I was like, oh my God, this is actually really compelling shit. And it's Mark Ruffalo takes it to, you know how much I hate the line he delivers when he explains Thanos to Doctor Strange in Infinity War? You won't believe this is the same fucking actor because this is like unreal. And I'm still amazed filmmaking how they can have the same guy play twins. I just never have understood how they can do that so well.
Like have him in the same shot.
Yeah,
I mean, they could bring actors back from the dead, Jeff. I mean, I think they could just double Mark Ruffalo.
To me, that seems easier than what they did here. But I would highly, highly recommend this. It's not as accessible as Da Five Bloods. And when I say that, I mean, like, not everyone will watch it and be like, oh, yeah, I get this. Plus, it's 6 hours of TV, but you will not regret watching this show. And he is going to get an Emmy nom for it. 100%. Last thing I watched, and I know, Boehner, you watched this, the Disney Gallery on The Mandalorian.
Oh, yeah. I forgot I watched that, too.
It finished up this past week, so this is like the 8-episode behind the scenes, the making of it. I guess
this is like what traditionally you would get as the extra features on a DVD.
Yeah. Banner, would you say it's like 50% director's roundtable, 50% behind the scenes, or maybe a little bit different percentages?
Yeah, it's probably 50-50, maybe 40-60. You get a lot of director roundtable, and then kind of what they're talking about. You get a little bit of exposition of behind the scenes about what they're talking about to put context to some of the things they're saying. Really, really interesting stuff, though, except for, I know you're probably going to talk about this, but Carl Weathers, dude,
yeah.
I couldn't get through that episode, dude. I stopped it halfway through. I couldn't finish that episode.
Matt, you know Carl Weathers, played Chubbs.
Apollo Creed, but yeah.
Oh, okay, right. Well,
the stupid fucking Happy Madison movie he did, and
I'm thinking of our demographic.
Apollo Creed, sir.
Probably know him as Chubbs, but you're right. He was also Apollo Creed, who had a glass jaw, I might add. Anyway, he is in The Mandalorian, and Carl Weathers comes across as the absolute cockiest motherfucker I have ever seen in my life. Banner said he had to stop the episode. It got so out of control.
It's like they go to him and they're like, hey, what was it like, filming with Taika Waititi? And he goes, the reason I took this role is because it was so compelling, the storytelling, and like,
well, no, Banner, the part that really upset me, Geiger, there's a scene, Taika Waititi directed one of the episodes that he was in, and Taika was talking about how, like, he was making a joke. He's like, I show up, there's no money, it's like fucking, we're filming in an orphanage. All this stuff is Star Wars, obviously. And then Carl Weathers goes, when they came to me, they obviously wanted this. And he's pointing to his own face. Yeah. And he goes, so I told them, send the people my script, and if I have time, I'll get to it. And I read it, and I wasn't compelled. And then I read the second episode, and I was a little more hooked. And then this third episode, and I was like, who the fuck are you to turn down projects, let alone Star Wars?
Was he serious?
Yes. He's not being funny at all. No one is making... Taika Waititi made a joke, but they weren't, like, together. They edited it to where they were, like, in the same room. But Taika was with the other directors. And I was thinking, like, Dude, do you think you're like someone else? You're Carl Weathers. Like, I know who you are, but like,
Yeah.
Disney could be like, all right, we'll get the next guy that can easily fucking do what we were going to ask you to do. I don't really understand the problem.
Honestly, Carl Weathers was probably the choice that they went with because he was cheap.
That's probably true.
Like, let's be honest with ourselves. What has he done in the last 15 years?
I don't know. Unless he's on some TV shit that I don't know about.
Maybe. There's like a billion TV shows we don't know about. Matt, last thing I got to say. Okay, real quick aside. There is this sphere that they can film in that replaces green screen that is worth watching this show alone. It's unbelievable.
Honestly,
Matt,
if you don't watch the show, you should watch that episode of them showing like what they were able to do because of it.
So, Matt, they've replaced green screen with, they film in like this dome. It's like the size of a football dome. But all the walls and the ceiling, they can turn into the environment. So, like, as they're walking and moving the camera, it looks like the background, and it's fucking insane. It's called The Sphere, and now they're saying, like, all Disney movies are going to film there. Last thing I'll say, Banner, the guy who did the score, is an evil genius. He looks and dresses just like you, and he's insane like you. He is you. Matt, here's how the guy made the score. He took a bunch of shrooms, smoked a bunch of pot, locked himself in a room. He has like 40 different instruments, and he just is by himself, records himself, comes out of his trance on Monday, and he's like, I think I have it.
It's something whenever you just like do music that I like, I'm like, oh yeah, you're a band. I like you. But whenever I watched your documentary and said I did a lot of drugs and locked myself into something like a log cabin, did the album, then I'm like, okay, now you're an artist.
Why is it so cool locking yourself in someplace?
No.
It's
like
just
the Bro
like
Force Squad retreat when we're like, we literally locked ourselves in Banner's lab for 5 hours and got drunk and did movie commentaries. People just like them more. I don't know.
Our wives are like, why? Who would need to get into that room?
Yeah, people, okay?
Them.
That's who.
Them. That's who. Not us.
All right, we're ready to wrap up with Do You Even Lift, bro?
Yeah.
That's been a while. Matt's had to try to.
Matt, you've done well. I appreciate
Really?
the effort.
Because I half-assed it the whole time.
You
weird because I wasn't even trying. So
yeah, well, if you just try a little, you might, do better. I don't know.
All right, well, our Do You Even Lift, bruh, is the last segment of the show. This is where we leave you all with a question. And about every third or fourth episode, we go back to our Bro Force Squad Trivia Showdown, which we're going to resume tonight. Now, the way this works, each bro will ask the other two bros a different question. If they get the question correct, they get 1 trivia point. If the first bro gets it wrong, the other bro can steal it for half a point. We are playing for the first bro to get to 25 points, and that bro will get to choose a movie for the others to do a commentary or a review on. So let me give you the scores. Horns, myself, is at 2.5 points. Banner is at 3, and Geiger is in the lead with 3.5 points. Geiger, are you prepared to go first with your trivia questions?
Yeah, sure. I'll ask Banner at first, and then I'll ask you second. Is that cool?
Definitely.
Of course.
So, Banner,
Very
are you
cool.
familiar with the MCU?
Enough to where I think I could hold my own.
Okay. So the MCU obviously connects. However, before that, there were 2 Marvel movies that connected, and there was a scene that made them connect. What were the 2 movies? I know, but Banner wasn't on.
Oh, that's right. And you know he didn't listen.
And I asked you it off pod. So
Oh, you did? That was off
Yes.
pod? Holy shit. I'm sorry. I interrupted.
What were the 2 movies? We'll edit it out. Jeff fucked it up. What were the 2 movies and what was the scene?
So it's 2 Marvel movies
Yes, before the MCU.
before the MCU, and there was one scene in one of the movies, or the same scene in both movies?
No, one scene in one of the movies that actually it connected the 2 Marvel movies.
Slight hint, it's like a blink and you'll miss it.
Yeah.
If you guys
I
can
want to
see
say say Fantastic Four and Daredevil, but I feel like I'm wrong.
You're wrong on both. It was in Spider-Man 2. It was Spider-Man and Punisher. When Mary Jane was getting married, She ran
Thomas
past
Jane.
Thomas Jane.
Oh shit! I don't think I knew that then.
Yeah.
It's a deep, deep cut.
Wow. Well,
Jeff.
okay. So me and Matt are now even after my week 1 trivia questions.
Yes. Well, that
So-
one actually, Jeff got that one when I asked him off pod.
Yeah, but Jeff's a
Jeff.
freak.
I have never felt the touch of a woman, so yeah, that's why I got
The
it.
Tim Burton Batmans.
Okay.
Batman and Batman Returns. Batman wears boots. What shoe company made his boots?
Ooh.
Famous shoe company.
Yeah. Which? They're Reeboks, aren't they?
Nikes.
Fuck.
Ooh.
That's a great question.
See, because it's a great question because you can guess. You know,
Yeah.
it's not like I have no fucking clue. Like you
But
can
I thought-
either like Reebok, Adidas, Nike,
I
New
thought Nike
Balance.
was like too big at the time.
Yeah, I know.
Damn. Great one. Damn. Good job, man. All right, Brainer. You want to go?
Yep, I'll go. All right. So I did, since we talked about X-Men, I did mine X-Men themed, if you will. Jeff, let's go to you first. Okay.
Let's.
How many of the X-Men films was Bryan Singer credited in?
As producer or?
Yep. Just how many is he credited in?
All right, first 3. He did Days of Future Past. I doubt they'd give him a character's credit because that's probably all Stan Lee. I'll say 5. I'll add 1 to that. I think he probably did one of the Matthew Vaughn ones.
Wow. Yes, it is 5. But technically he was in
But you're
6,
wrong.
but they took his credit away after the sexual misconduct allegations.
Right, and I was factoring that in. Obviously, you touch little kids,
Obviously.
you lose 1 credit. That's how the
Obviously.
Yeah, we know too much about that.
Yeah, he did the first 3, and then, like you said, he was involved in Days of Future Past, and he was also involved in Apocalypse.
rules. Nice.
Yep. All right, Matt.
So I'm tied with Matt now for the lead, 3.5 to 3.5, and then Banner, you're just behind us at 3.
Okay.
Live
This McGuire thing going on here. Sosa McGuire Griffey,
We're cutting into Matt Geiger's at bat now.
if you will.
I watched that documentary too, but I know you guys already talked about that on a previous show.
We did. In
Yep.
full length.
Yeah. All right, Matt. Of the 12 X-Men films,
There's
Is the-
12?
I was
You
just
ha-
like, gee, I said, I'm going to call
Jesus
false on that.
Christ.
Is that a true false question? There's no way there's 12.
we're
Okay,
including
keep going.
we're including the Wolverine movies and
Okay.
Deadpool.
I still can't believe there's 12, but
and
okay.
Deadpool, okay.
Yeah, you have X-Men,
Deadpool,
X2,
okay.
X3, Origins, First Class, Wolverine, Days of Future Past, Deadpool, Apocalypse, Logan, Deadpool 2, and Dark Phoenix.
Okay.
So of those movies,
Yeah.
the combined budgets, is it over 1.5 billion or under 1.5 billion dollars?
Billion?
Yes. The combined budgets of all 12 of those.
I say it's over.
Yep, it is over.
I
It
got a
is
coin flip.
1.67.
The only thing that I was going to
Barely
maybe...
over. I would have guessed around 2 billion.
I was going to say the only thing I would hesitate on is the Deadpools because they're rated R. I know the first one they had to do with like $20 million.
But Apocalypse and Darth Phoenix, I mean, those movies costed a ton.
Yeah, those are like $250 each.
Yep.
Talk about
All right,
not a
that'll
good investment. All right. So Geiger got that. Let me add. He's fucking 4.5 points now for Geiger. I have 3.5. Banner has 3. No one's got a chance to steal yet.
Slow and steady wins the race.
All right, Geiger.
If
We'll go to
I
you.
win, I'm gonna be a dick and make you all watch Roots, which is like a 28-hour movie.
All right. Well, that's all the motivation I needed.
Looks like I'm going to try and lose now.
Geiger.
Report back.
I mean, Banner, you can still just watch Roots if you want to watch Roots. No one.
I mean, it is really good. It just, I mean, it'll take you a month.
All right, Geiger, I'll come to you first. In what movie does a character describe Samuel L. Jackson as, quote, "Have you seen any movie ever? He's the black guy."
God, it's a comedy.
Yeah, because that line's hilarious.
I know. It's is it The Internship?
Banner, do you want a chance to steal? He described Samuel L. Jackson as, quote, "Have you seen any movie ever? He's the black guy."
Is it Neighbors?
It is Ted 2. Ted
Oh,
says
yeah.
it to Amanda Seyfried. Her name is
Okay,
Sam
yeah.
Jackson.
Yeah. Okay, yeah. Oh, that's a good one.
All right, Banner. This is a multiple choice question, and I've, of course, tailored this to each of you. Which of these films was not scored by John Williams?
Oh.
And he has done a fuck ton of movies.
Yes.
More than ones you would not even believe. All right, here's the 4. A, Nightmare Before Christmas. B, Munich. C, War Horse. Or D, Schindler's List. Which one has he not scored? Do you want them again?
Yes, please.
Nightmare Before Christmas, Munich, War Horse, or Schindler's List? A lot of
I think it's Munich.
I think it's Schindler's List.
Is that both your guys' final answers?
Yeah.
No, he didn't do Nightmare Before Christmas. That was Danny Elfman. He did Munich, War Horse, and Schindler's List.
Oh, okay.
I knew he did
I guess
Schindler's
that would
List.
be the outlier. All those other movies were serious. I just thought Schindler's List just sticks out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, who would even
I knew he did that because Spielberg did Schindler's List. So.
And they're butt buddies.
Yeah.
All right, guys, that's all we got.
Sucks.
What do you want to leave the people with for episode 120, Banner?
It's been a while, but everybody remember to pull over for emergency vehicles, please.
Beautiful. Geiger?
If X-Men came out instead of the 2000s in 2020, would we have MLA?
MLA?
Mutants Life Matters?
Oh, MLM? MLA
Yeah,
is that
MLM.
format for an essay, isn't it?
Yeah. MLM, sorry. Mutants Life Matters. Would we have that there? Be awesome.
I think we would. We definitely would. You'd have to.
You have to.
So drunk I fucked up the fucking...
Well, no, because MLA has been implanted in your head since 7th grade.
Yeah, I know. My bad.
So you're supposed to do your work cited. All right, for the mad scientist, Brian Banner, and our enforcer, Matt Geiger, I'm the mayor, Jeff Hornacek. We are the Broforce Squad. Thank you guys for checking us out. Follow us on Twitter at Broforce Squad. Type in Broforce Squad as 3 separate words in Letterboxd, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube. You'll find us there. And find all Banner's squad blogs that he's written and everything else that we do on our website, broforcesquad.com. Till next time, we'll catch you later. Charles. MLA format. What was the other one? It's like
APA.
AP. Was it? APA? That doesn't sound right, but it probably was.
It had an A in it.